Good morning, this is Faith and Books, and I'm going to do the wine book tag that originated with Alan Braswell, and he tagged me, and it really was quite a coincidence because I really don't know very much about wine at all, but just this past weekend we had a birthday party for our boarder, whose son I take care of, and she is from French Africa, and it's a really nice combination of African and French cuisine and that sort of thing. So she's much more of a wine drinker. And the first birthday she had here, we took her to a winery for a wine tasting. And we haven't done it since. We were going to make it a tradition and do it every year, but we just haven't. And so she asked this year, can we do that again? And so I tried, but because of COVID, they're only operating at 15% capacity. So at first I didn't call soon enough because the weather said it was going to rain anyway, and we were figured we'd be sitting outside. But then when I did realize that the weather was going to be okay, it was already full because everyone's, I guess, signing up or making reservations to get out because we're going into our phase 2, although our numbers are good, but in other places where they've opened up, the numbers aren't so good. So I don't know. I think it's just a matter of time. Anyway, so in lieu of that, I decided we'd have a fun little wine tasting party on Sunday. I know very little about wine, so I was doing a lot of research and going around shopping because we have a couple of grocery. Well, there was a Trader Joe's, and then we have another store called the Fresh Market, which is like a southern kind of gourmet oriented, and they have a very nice wine section as well. So anyway, so I was doing all this research and like I didn't know really what a Merlot tasted like. And in this wine book tag, he lists all these different wines and compares them to types of books. But now I do, so I can actually, it just came at the perfect time because here we go. This is the Merlot that I bought. It was quite delicious. I'm not really a red wine person, but I think I'm becoming one. The trouble is that I can't drink very much wine because it can trigger migraines. So I'm a very, I have like a glass and I nurse it all night. I don't drink much. And then this is a Cabernet Sauvignon. I don't think I'd ever had that before, and that's one of the wines on this wine book tag. So I got that. I did research on, by Googling, on these different brands, do you call them brands? Whatever. These different labels and what was considered good. So these are pretty high quality wine, I think. So anyway, we have leftovers. I don't know do I wind up making them cooking wines? I don't know. Maybe I'll save some for, I like to have a glass of something alcoholic on Friday evenings to celebrate the weekend. Anyway, so here is the book tag that I will go through. So the first question is Cabernet Sauvignon. Here we go, right here. Full-bodied, dense, dark red wine. What book is a dense read or took a while for you to figure out what the author was communicating? And Alan said Crime and Punishment, and I'm going to say the other big book by Dostoevsky, The Brothers Karamazov. I just didn't understand where that book was going for the first maybe half. And it's a really, when I finished it, I was really glad I finished it. I thought it was an incredibly powerful book that, you could read it over and over again. There'd be more to get out of it. But I truly felt disoriented the first half of the book. I just didn't know where it was going to go, or everything just seemed strange to me. So I would say The Brothers Karamazov for me. Prompt number 2, Merlot. Here we go, Merlot. Medium-bodied softness. What book was a cozy or soft read? And I'm going to say that currently I'm reading these Louise May Alcott books, and they're like that. They're a really cozy, soft read. They're not difficult to read, and they take you to a place that's kind of old-fashioned. And so I'm going to go with Louise May Alcott. And right now I've been reading Elizabeth Gaskell short stories, and they do the same sort of thing. So I'll say they're my Merlot. And then prompt number 3 is I know how to say this, Pinot Noir. I don't think I've ever had this wine. Romantic of wines, described as sex in a glass. That seems pretty hyperbolic. What book would you read had a romantic scene? So this is so pathetic. I went back a few years looking for books that had something, you know, a little bit torrid in it or something. And I'm boring. I haven't read anything like that. So I'll just say that Georgette Hare books are romances. They're considered romances, and they have sort of, you know, they have very clean romance in them. But there's definitely tension, and the romantic part of the book can be sort of the major plot. So I'll say Georgette Hare books. They're Regency romance books. Number 4, rosé, summer wine. What is your summer read? So rosé, when I was a teenager and in my early 20s, rosé was considered tacky. I had a friend who like defiantly drank rosé, and everyone belittled her. So, but it's now become trendy. So it's weird how things change. Anyway, I do have summer reads. I do, and by summer reads, I mean books that I'll read on vacation, because I like to read on vacation. It's very relaxing, but I don't want anything that's disturbing or, you know, takes a lot of concentration. I want something that's enjoyable and I can just pick up and put down, you know, depending on what's going on that day. So I'll say this year it's probably going to be Swallows and Amazons, that series. That'll be it for this year. Last year I read Hare Detective Mysteries. And the year before that at the beach, I remember I read Ann Tyler's A Spool of Blue Thread. So I do deliberately pick books that are summer reads. Number 5, Chardonnay. I've had Chardonnay before. Medium light body white wine. What book you read was a light read? So the most recent light read was that book Radical Prunings. That was a really light read. It was really frothy. You know, not much depth to it, but it was still an interesting book. It was still intelligent and interesting and funny. Number 6, Sauvignon Blanc, described as a wild white wine. So the most recent book that I read that had, you know, a sense of wilderness or the natural was Tarka the Otter. But that was such a dark book. I can't think of it as a white wine. It's more like a whiskey or something like that, something darker and you know, with higher alcohol content. So I don't know if I have a good book for that particular one. But I'll just say Tarka the Otter because that's the most recent read. And then number 7 is port, a dessert wine. So I have had port. I just had port a few years ago when we went to Stanton and we saw a Shakespeare play. What did we see that time? It wasn't as good as A Midsummer Night's Dream, but anyway, we stayed at this bed and breakfast and they served port. They had like they would put out port and some little crackers and hors d'oeuvres and stuff. And so I got to drink port, and it really made me think of those Regency romances or Jane Austen or whatever. And, you know, I liked it. My husband didn't care for it. It is a sweet, heavy wine. You just sip it slowly. I guess that's what I do with wine anyway. So I thought it was, I enjoyed it. I liked the port. But I had never, you know, I'd heard about it and never had it until a few years ago. So I had to wait till I was, 57 or 58 to drink port. What book have you read that was rich from start to finish? And I immediately thought of A Time for Gifts by Patrick Leigh Fermor. That was, I read that last year. It was a young man who walked basically from England. Well, he went over to Netherlands, and then he walked to the Danube, basically, like walked through Austria and Germany and gets to Hungary. I think that's where the book ends. And that book was incredible. The writing was so vibrant. It was wonderful. So I think of that as a really rich read. So that's my book that compares to port. And then the last thing is Prosecco, sparkling wine used in celebrations, and that means you're supposed to celebrate books and wine, I guess, by tagging other people. And I never know who to tag, so if anybody wants to do this, either because you're really into wine or because it's an opportunity to learn more about wine, you know, I tag you. So that's it. Oh, it's 10 minutes, so I'm going to end here. So have a good day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.